It's 23 minutes after 6 o'clock on this Thursday morning. You're watching the morning show right here on ETV. Now, we did say we're going to be chatting a little bit about reading. And reading isn't just about books. It's about opening minds, building confidence, and of course, shaping futures. Yet, in South Africa currently, 8 out of 10 children struggle to read by the age of 10. Now, with World Read Aloud Day behind us, it's time to reflect on the importance of literacy and the role we all play in fostering a love for reading. Liberty's Read Aloud program has been championing this cause, and today we're joined by Nomakabiso Machila, who is the head of corporate social investment at Liberty, to discuss the power of reading and how we can all be part of the solution. Nomakabiso, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the morning show.
Thank you. Thank you, Percy. Good morning.
Good morning to you too. It's great to be chatting to you on this very important conversation. And I was asking my colleague just now in terms of books that she's reading, and she's fortunately reading books, but this doesn't translate to the rest of South Africa. In actual fact, as a nation, we've ranked last in the Global Literacy Study Pearls 2021, and these stats are very alarming. But the question maybe this morning to start this conversation is, where do you think the biggest gaps are when it comes to our literacy efforts?
The biggest is if you look at historically disadvantaged schools, there's a lot of gaps there when it comes to resources as well. And I think it does not help with the fact that we're not doing that well economically so that we can plow more resources in the schools and in terms of funding. But I think there's so much that is out there. The partnership with private sectors can really do so much, which is that's why then we have been saying, what is it that we're doing to contribute to the society to make it better? But I think there is a lot of involvement, not just the government. There's a whole lot of involvement that we need to do, private sector, parents and communities to rally behind, to really help with the scourge of learning in our public schools. So I think to some large extent, if we own the responsibility, all of us will be able then to help and change the dial a bit.
Yeah, you speak about support and private sector coming behind the building of community, and I think Liberty has done that very well with their Read Aloud program, which has been running for over 20 years. But maybe paint the picture for us in terms of, the tangible impact that you've seen in the schools that you've worked with, and how do you actually measure that success among the children when you've rolled out this program?
I think maybe just to start, to take it, give a bit of a context. When we started this program, we started with library refurbishment. When we realized that, there's a number of public schools that do not have libraries. And I think it starts there. If you provide sufficient resources, then at least there's an interest in children. They'll be able to read beyond what their textbook and supplements that they're given at school. So I think when we did that, we realized that there was still a gap, and there was low utilization of those resources, and especially those libraries. And in fact, and there's also another part that is big. There's no community libraries anymore, where in the past there were those. So I think when we ran this program, there's obviously a pre-assessment that we have to do to say, where's the state of the children and learners, and where's the state in terms of the teaching. We look at the gap in terms of curriculum, in terms of reading, so that we're able to assess the impact. And I think you've said it in the beginning when you started introducing me about the increase in confidence of the learners. And I think once we've implemented these programs in schools, what we've seen is that it edifies and it encourages learners to actually read more. I remember with one of the schools that we went to, we did an awards ceremony. One of the parents came to me and said, thank you so much for what you're doing. My child is asking me to read for her now, and which is something that I didn't do. And when the schools were closing, learners were asking for the facilitators to actually give them books to read over the week, over the holidays.
Wow.
So you do see there's an encouragement, and we've heard teachers talking about improving listening skills, but I do think there's still, in terms of comprehension, understanding, we've rated low. We've assessed over the score of 5, for example, and we're still getting a 3 out of 5 when it comes to that comprehension. I think there's more work that we do. So we're looking at ways into which how we can improve that gap. Yeah. But I think there's another important aspect, right, of mother tongue teaching, which was never emphasized before. And I think what the Pearl study did, it gave us a wake-up call to even government, to Department of Basic Education, to say, you know what, let's relook at this. There was a language policy conference in July 2023 post this to look at what is it that we're doing in schools. And one of the things that were noted there was that in the first 6 years of schooling, children must be taught in their mother tongue. There must be an infusion of multilingualism in school. I mean, there's this terminology called translanguaging, which means that utilization of more than one language in the classroom. And I think it was not emphasized. You always wanted to speak English. And I think if you were born in a space where everyone is speaking Xhosa at home, and when you go, everyone is speaking Xhosa, and then the certain words when you hear them in English, you can't really think what it exactly is. I mean, I'll give an example. I was thinking yesterday, if you say tea, that's what it is, right? You're able to translate in English, there's tea. But there are other words that you aren't be able, for example, to organize. That phonetically is totally different and takes you in a different level. So I think those are the critical things that we need to look at. And I think there's an emphasis of also language is quite important. And I think there is that complexity in South Africa of 11 official languages. And we need linguists, we need academics to really help and rally behind our curriculum in order for us to improve for the better.
So what you're saying is so true. I actually remember growing up, and my mother would always say, even though I learned English at school, when I walk through the gates of the house, we go back all in the efforts of making sure that the language is caught by both. And I think what you're saying is incredibly true. But I know for a lot of people, when you think about literacy, you always think about reading and writing and thinking that it ends there. How exactly does developing literacy actually directly impact a child's future and their decisions thereafter?
So there was a study. In fact, I stumbled upon a study yesterday in one of these literacy documentation. It was a study that was done in Ohio State University in 2019, and it was done in the US, but I mean, it's still applicable to us. They're saying that if a parent reads to a child a book a day, they would, by the age of 5, they will have about 290,000 words more than the child that is not read to. So there are those unintended consequences that happen in subconscious mind when you've heard something and someone reading to you and you are able to articulate and remember it, right? And I think we're talking to those when you exposed them to the environment of learning and giving them the opportunity. And I cannot emphasize enough is that it improves. I mean, when you look at our economy, we're in insurance and asset management. We're in a business of wealth creation. For people to even understand that, there must be an ounce of literacy there. For people to be able to feel and complete our policy documentation, we need that literacy. It improves standard of living. It becomes better. And also it empowers and you're able to be liberated and to be able to communicate, just being able to be included in the economy. So those are the important things that we need to look at. You're able to see what products are available in the market and what services are available. And then once you own those, then you become part of the economy. Yeah. So I think for me, that's the importance of literacy. It has that ripple effect.
Yeah, that is very true. Nomaxabiso, we have unfortunately run out of time, but I must ask you this last question. There's parents that are listening to this conversation right now, family members, community members, and I would love for you to leave them with 3 things they can do right now, practical things they can do in the home, in the community, to be able to foster this culture of literacy. What are 3 things that a parent or a community member can do practically today to help the children around them?
Let's look at their books that they're learning from school. Let's look at what you do. One thing that you can do when the child comes back from school, what did you learn today? Pick up that book and then look at that one page. I look at my son now, who's in grade 1 and is excited about reading, is learning alphabets and is constructing words. And when we look at the homework, we look at, okay, go write the M, re-emphasize. If they were learning about M today, let's go and write. Pick up a pen and take, let's write. So I think being involved and assisting them, they also see the excitement. And you've got books around you. Let's read a sentence. Read a sentence out loud and let them repeat it. And you will see it will increase their vocabulary day by day, and it will improve their lives for the better.
So this has been very insightful, and I really think it's been encouraging, not just for me, but for many other parents and South Africans that are listening to this conversation that have children around them, which is all of us, to empower them and really give them the gift of literacy, one book at a time and one story at a time. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Really looking forward to not just next year, but many other conversations on this very important topic.
Thank you for the opportunity, Kosi.
Man, oh man, what a great conversation. One book, one voice, and one child at a time. That is how we change the literacy landscape in South Africa. But it doesn't stop with the schools or corporate initiatives such as Liberty. It starts in our homes. It starts in our communities. It starts in our everyday actions. If we can change how our children read, or even more, how we engage with reading, then we can really change how they see the world. So grab a book, read it out loud, write it out. Let your children hear this, and let's build this future that we want to see together, that we want to see our children go into South Africa that we love. Don't go anywhere. There's so much more coming up after this.